Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll get started now with our next session, which is on Bixby Vision. So how are you guys doing so far? Great? All right. It's a very auspicious day today in India. I don't know if you know about it or not. It's a festival of lights. So 1 billion lights are getting lit somewhere half the way across the globe. A lot of joy and peace and prosperity messages flowing around. So I hope this session is going to be, you can relax, enjoy. This is all about possibilities that we are going to talk about in this session. And Bixby Vision specifically is a in-camera experience. And as we all know, camera has been traditionally meant for creating astoundingly beautiful photographs, allowing millennials to express themselves and define who they are. Bixby Vision is going to take this one step further. It's going to allow you to see the unseen, as we call it. It's going to reveal things which are not normally known to user. So it's a kind of different kind of concept. So how many of you actually have used Bixby Vision? Great. Okay. So, excuse me. So this is a small eye icon that you see in your Samsung S9 or S8 or Note 8, any of those devices. You'll see a small eye icon, and when you click on it, you have this Bixby Vision application, which gets launched right from the camera. So let's see what it does. Okay, so this is a 3-part talk. I'm going to talk about, I'll give you a brief overview of Bixby Vision for the benefit of those who are not familiar with it. And then we'll talk about what we are opening up for the ecosystem partners. We are talking about open collaboration. We are talking about open innovation. And we want to take this one step further with Bixby Vision SDK. So we'll talk briefly about that, and then finally we'll summarize the possibilities, what we have done so far, where we are headed and stuff like that. And then we'll open up the deck for discussions. I would really like to hear from you and your ideas, what you want to what you really want to accomplish from in-camera experiences. The possibilities are literally infinite, and your feedback would be really important. To keep this session lively, so feel free to stop me anytime you have a question. So let's see what we launched in S9. It's a small, brief video, and then we'll get into the actual part of the session.
This year, over 1 trillion videos and images will be snapped, edited, and shared. So we haven't just updated the camera. We've completely rethought the entire camera experience for how you communicate today. Introducing the Samsung Galaxy S9. The camera reimagined. We've reimagined the camera so you can reimagine the world around you.
Hey Bixby, translate this.
With quick command, its camera even responds to your voice. And intelligent image recognition technology works seamlessly within the same app. So you won't get lost on your screen.
So Bixby Vision is basically a AR service platform, and it is aimed at leveraging the state-of-the-art AI engines that we have built over a period of time. These engines are highly optimized, hardware accelerated, leveraging each cycle and juice that we have to offer on our devices, so that the developers don't have to do the heavy lifting of optimizing their models. So that's what we have built under the hood, and developers can leverage this functionality to build AR applications on top of it. Now, why do we need this? So basically, user, when he's looking at the world from the camera, he's looking at the objects, right? And we want to connect users with the objects that they see. And we want to bring partners on board to develop business models around it, to build services around those visual objects. And at the same time, when we talk about vision, which is computationally intensive modules, we'd like them to use and leverage the capabilities that we have already built. So the premise here is that we want to share the AR experience and the business opportunities with our partners, and we want to enable them to actually explore. So it's basically you guys. We want your ideas to come on board. We want your business models to come on board, and we want to explore these opportunities together. The eventual goal is to create a seamless AR experience right through the camera. We don't want the developers to really find out different applications at different points in time to do stuff that they really want to do. So we want everything to come under one place right through the camera. So let's see how we do it and what's in it for the developers. So as I said, Bixby Vision SDK is purely development oriented, right? So when a user is looking through the camera, he's basically looking at images which is predominantly different the way photographs are taken. Photographs will consider this as just a 2D array of pixels. Bixby Vision does more. But then the question is, what's in it for developers? What's in it for content providers? And Bixby Vision tries to answer that in terms of building ecosystems around the way users look at the world. So Bixby Vision is the eye to the world. It's a user's eye to the world, and we open up this possibility to our partners. You can see the world the way user sees it. And when we talk about how humans perceive the world, it's predominantly an ordered set of different objects. And when we decompose this world into a semantic organization of objects, we open up the possibilities of interactions with those objects. And depending on the type of the objects, user wants to do different things. One may want to translate if it's a text. If it's food, he may be interested in recipes and nutrition. He may be interested in places if he's in certain location and is looking at some shops. Or he may be just interested in certain information. He wants to know more, and he could be interested in bringing different models. So he has a perception of, buying certain set of things, and he wants to bring them on board. He wants to try things and see how it looks, how it fits. So as you can see, these are just examples, but the possibilities are innumerable. And we want to tap into these possibilities, create new business opportunities around it, develop new business models and revenues, and we want to share these opportunities with our developers. So that's the whole point here, open up the infinite possibilities for our partners to leverage and build on top of it. So it's pretty exciting time, and we are on the cusp of convergence of vision and voice. Gone are the days where you open up a browser and you type in text, and to get some information, those are the days that are, I think they are over, and the era of vision and voice has just begun. In my opinion, the story is just beginning to unfold. So let's see what we have done so far with our partners, and this is just the beginning, as I said earlier. So in S9, we had 9 different modes, and each of this mode is basically a lens to user's world. Text, shopping, place, food, wine, images, these are all self-explanatory names, and in front camera we had makeup. We'll just get into details of what each one of this does. So point and shop camera is a one place stop for users to shop. So when user is looking at an object and he wants to make a purchase decision, he wants to know what will it cost for the user to buy that particular object, or he wants to know the options of where he can purchase that. He just need to point to an object and it will pop up different options for the user. So how do we do that? We basically understand the intent of the user, and then we send this information to the partners who provide this information back to us. And that's not the end of the story. Since user is interacting with the objects, we also know the preferences of the user. So the results can be ordered according to the choices made by the user in past. If a user is in a certain place, we would have certain information about his likings. And based on that, we could give information or options for user to filter. It could be categories, it could be the range in which he wants to search, stuff like that. So depending on the place or depending on the object, you can enable user to do different things. You can also allow user to translate from one language to another, and that's pretty widely used application in S9 and Note 8 and Note 9. If you are a designer and you want to look for similar objects, all you have to do is open up Bixby Vision, go into image mode, and search for similar ideas, similar artworks, similar objects. You can also, if you're a foodie, you can point to an object and get nutritional information. You can know what calorie content that food has. You can directly connect that to S-Health tracker. So you don't have to manually go and enter the calories intake on daily basis. You can directly make connection through the camera into your daily S-Health tracker. If you are into cooking, you can also pull out recipes and figure out how to cook the food. There is another application, and this is pretty interesting front camera application, where you can convert camera into a virtual mirror. You can apply cosmetic products, and there are thousands of options available to you. You can apply beauty products. You can, if you are interested in celebrity looks, you can choose one among those preset looks, and then directly purchase those products right through the camera. So these are only some of the options. These are only some of the examples that we have done so far. What I would like to really stress upon is the things that we have built so far and the underlying architecture of it, and how these possibilities are going to unfold in future. So let's delve into details of that. So basically, there are two ways in which developers can come on board. One is through partner service extensions. This is basically a set of client APIs which can extend the existing services that we have built in Bixby Vision SDK, and partners can come on board as a supplier of the content or information. We have another set of APIs, Vision APIs and Render APIs, which will allow developers to build full-fledged applications. So let's see this a little bit more in detail. So we have service extension APIs. This is the first category of APIs, which has a remote module implemented by the clients or partner applications. Sure.
In your previous slide, you had the AR layer.
Yes.
And I'm curious what AR platform is that?
You.
Is that part of the earlier session, the MSEPs or?
Just hold on to that thought. We'll come into the detail, and Sergey will delve into some aspects of AR application. So just hold on to that thought. We will talk about it. So client APIs will allow you to extend the services which are existing, as I said, and these three APIs are part of the remote module implemented by the partner applications. And there is another category where you can develop 2D AR. 2D AR is basically information which will be superimposed in a camera session or an image session. and it will make use of the vision APIs. The traditional vision capabilities can be leveraged by these applications. And gentleman here asked about the 3D APIs, and the render capabilities will expose some of these aspects where users can build their own 3D scene. It can use the material properties and light and animations and interact with those 3D models. All of this is also using the spatial understanding and capabilities from Google AR Core. So coming back to the first category of service extension APIs, there are two subcategories of it. One is link binding, another is partial binding. So link binding is basically a launch point for the partner application. When user intends to do something with the visual objects, he's looking at those objects, and those objects are served by a certain application, certain partner application. Link binding will allow Bixby Vision service to directly launch that application. There is another category of binding, which is called partial binding. In this particular case, Bixby Vision, in addition to identifying the object, will also give information about that object to the partner application so that partner application can build on top of it. So the way this information is passed is through a remote module, as I mentioned earlier, which is going to be implemented by the partner application. Let's see an example of that. So the images flow through the camera into Bixby Vision, which does the vision processing on top of it, gets those visual objects identified, finds the right CP for who caters to those objects, sends this information to the content provider, who in turn gives back the object or processed information for that particular object as a response. And all of this is happening while the live preview rendering is going on inside the camera. So user is free to change his focus from one object to another object. And as it does that, the information seamlessly flows from Bixby Vision to the content partner. And then user finally decides to do something with the object. And as soon as he clicks on that particular object, we launch the partner application to take control of the eventual experience they want to walk through to the user.
Segmentation is done by
Bixby Vision. And in case of service extension, which is using client APIs for link binding, it's a little bit simpler. You still have Bixby Vision receiving the live images, but in this particular case, user directly chooses the application he is interested in. So instead of Bixby Vision identifying the objects and sending it to the CP, user directly makes the choice of what he wants to do with that application. So this is the link binding application. It registers the activity. So the application, partner application registers its activity with Bixby Vision, and Bixby Vision launches this application as and when user makes that choice. The second category, so we have walked through the first category of application. The second category is where it's directly using Vision APIs. So that allows partner to develop their own application. They don't have to necessarily rely on launch of their application on Bixby Vision. They can have a self-sustained application built on top of the APIs that we are exposing. So these APIs are very, very simple in nature. It basically gives the control of a camera session or an image session, and it allows you to configure, create, start, stop, release. So these are basically the control commands associated with the session. In addition to that, you can also receive the preview frames. So you can register a callback to receive the images from the camera. And a traditional use case would be that while you want to use the vision capabilities of Bixby Vision, you may also have your own vision functions, your own secret sauce, which you would like to use on the images that are being captured by the camera. So You can register the preview callback. You can receive the frames in real time and process them and superimpose that information on top of whatever information you're receiving from Bixby Vision. So the callbacks are divided into two categories. On the right-hand side, you see two types of listeners, event listeners and data listeners. Event listeners basically gives you the control to the state of the session, and data listener will allow you to make the calls to get result API. So these are the callbacks that you can make use to eventually get the results from Bixby Vision. With this, I'll hand over to the 3D part, and you can ask any question related to the 3D rendering to Sergey.
Thanks, Anurag. Hi, everyone. So to build up like the complete picture about the Bixby Vision and provide to you the entire development environment for the Bixby Vision AR application, so let me introduce the AR styler. So the AR styler basically is a helper class level rendering API that hides all low-level OpenGL and the shader stuff routines and gives you an opportunity for the simple and easy rendering of your AR content. So AR styler itself actually supports two types of AR experience. So one, it is like the back camera AR, and here we have a deep integration with the AR core and the Bixby Vision. So within the back camera AR experience, you could actually develop a different type of the general purpose AR or like the fit-in use cases to style your like the environment. And also we are supporting the front camera AR so that you could develop any type of the facial mask-like experience or like makeup or similar. So let's have a look what we are offering from the box in details. So actually, our AR styler gives you a basic possibility to load and import 3D assets. So right now we are supporting, like we have a GLTF 2.0 runtime loading as well as the OBJ files. So as for the vision side support, the AR styler has a deep in dive integration with the AR core and the Bixby Vision solutions. As for the interaction, like the AR is all about interaction. We are supporting the motion events, 3D picking, and the collision detection in between your virtual objects. To provide you like a natural and a high quality graphics, we have a rich material system which actually includes like the physics-based shading, custom materials, and the post effects, as well as support the basic material types. So when we've started to work on the AR applications, one of the largest concern was like actually animation. Like AR is all about the content and how you interact with this content. So within our AR styler solution, we support different type of the animation, which actually includes like skeleton animation, blend shape, custom geometry deformation, and etc. And finally, for the natural and the realistic rendering, we provide the lighting and the shadow support. Asset support and management. So one of the biggest concern while we are starting or decide to develop the AR application, actually, how can I get the assets and where the assets comes from? So right now there is dozens of formats in which you could store like the 3D assets, but to build up a good ecosystem and provide a unified channel how our partners and the content providers has to deliver their assets. So we decided to go with the GLTF. So we are supporting the GLTF 2.0. This is the open standard from the Kronos group that actually encapsulates all-in-one related information regarding your assets. So basically, how you can get the GLTF assets. So there are like a couple of options. So if there is any 3D artist available on your team or in your company, actually they can do it by themselves and like by using the DCC tools and then export it to the GLTF. Or if it is not an option for you, you could search easily the GLTF assets in the different asset stores like the Google Poly or Sketchfab. So there is dozens of assets that comes with like Creative Commons license and are applicable for even for the commercial purpose. So a couple of words about the material system, and I'd like to stress out the GLTF 2.0 support. So we support the basic material types like the lumber, the bleen, and the foam, and also supporting the physics-based rendering. So this is a standard way which being supported out from the box in the GLTF 2.0 spec. So when you could deliver your assets within the next textures like the base color, metallic, roughness, and the normal, and it will produce you a high-quality 3D rendering content. And finally, we gives you a possibility for the custom material setup and the post-FX processing. So this is one of an example how you can actually use a custom material at the camera post-FX. So in this particular example, this is like the vignette post-effects on the camera. So basically, you could set up the parameters, feed AR styler with your shader code, and it will make all the rest of work for you. Lighting and shadows. So as I mentioned, like to make your AR content looks natural and realistic, the lighting and shadows is a crucial important. So within like a 3D Styler API, we support standard light sources like the ambient, point, directional, or spotlights, as well as you could implement the image-based lighting. And as for the shadow, so we have a soft shadow support, as well as provide you a couple of APIs to play around dependently on your purpose. So you could actually modify the shadow map resolution either to bring more high quality content, or you could like minimize the shadow map resolution dependently on your performance and the power budget. Yep.
So this slide talks about how to render the shadows. What about increased division, the type of way to figure out where the light's coming from?
I do believe that right now we are relying on the functionality that comes from the AR core. So we could just actually receive an intensity, and that's it on this stage. Like this example show you like the shadow casting. So basically how you could set up the shadow casting option to set up the map resolution and play around it to get either more high quality shadow or just optimize your application for the performance purpose. So finally, what I've mentioned at the beginning, the animation. So in case of the animation, we support different type of animations. So the first one, it is like the skeleton animation. So if your assets comes with the skeleton animation inside, so we can easily play back it, as well as the blend shape animation, which is usable for the AR emoji-like experience. As well, we are supporting the custom geometry deformation animation, when you could actually have like the two different geometry shapes and then just blend the animation in between them. So this is an example how you could actually implement the animation controller and set up the animation playback for you. So this is just a skeleton animation. Okay, so now it is like a demo time to give you some insights about what type of application you could build on top of the Bixby Vision SDK. I will try to introduce our internal demo that covers more or less basic functionality that comes with it. Okay. It's the second time I'm using this flip device. hope it should work. Okay. Yes. Okay. Awesome, works. Okay. So I need some space. Okay. So I'm launching our application. Okay, more or less fine. So basically, so you can see this gives you an insight how you could make like a 3D UI layout in a 3D space. So we have like supported 3D picking. Then if you want to make some like the virtual fitting use case, so basically, so this is like a plane detection that comes from the AR core, and you could put your assets on a wall. Okay, so it should be fine. So as I mentioned, we are support the skeleton animation. So give you some like example on that. Yeah, so here is our crocodile dancing in front of you. I don't know why the chair disappeared. So let's try again. So they should live in the same AR environment. Okay. So this is a much better. Okay. So you can even like to play around with like a 360 video playback, for instance. So like this is just one of the concept demo, how it could looks like. So basically this sphere is this is like a 360 video. And now we are like somewhere in the AR environment. Okay, that's good enough. So in going further, like combine like let's say the 2D UI experience in a 3D space could also make a sense. So this like example, let's say the YouTube. Okay. I suppose it's like advertiser. Okay. Yeah, some trailer. So that's basically all what I want to show you today. So I do believe that it gives you like a general insights about like what type of application you could develop within like AR Styler API. So it is not a powerful like the graphics engine. Instead, what we are delivering, it is a simple and easy essential APIs to develop an applications based on the Bixby Vision SDK. And I'm passing the word to the Anurag to share about how you could get it started.
So it's just a very simple 5-step process to get started with Bixby Vision SDK. You just have to sign the NDA, and SDK would be will open up for download later half next year for selected third-party partners. And then once you have the SDK with you, you can develop applications and send that application to Samsung for testing. And once that is done, it's ready to be published on Galaxy App Store. And typically, it would take around 5 to 7 days of time for it to get approved. And once that's done, it will get whitelisted, and the application would be visible to on all devices which are Bixby Vision enabled. One thing that you might want to note down is you may have certain requirements or certain specific customization done which are country specific, and when that happens, you may want to give that information in addition to the creation of seller account and seller name. So that's it, and so basically this is the last slide of my presentation. So where we are headed is we are basically making a significant change in the paradigm of camera and vision space. We are transitioning the user experience from seeing to engaging from capturing to interacting, from just observing things as in taking photographs and looking at the images, instead of just observing things, knowing more, doing more, seeing more. So basically we are exceeding or transcending users' expectation from the camera application. So that's where we are headed, and with that, I would like to give you the links to the developer space. We have Roshan Vaidyanathan here, who's actively supporting the possibilities. Yeah, right there. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask now. I hope your question on 3D got answered. Yeah. Okay.
Basically, I attended the other session where they showed a different framework to build AR applications using Samsung's XR. How does that compare with what you just showed us? And I had one more question. So I have S8, which has Bixby Vision. Will that support this?
Yes.
So let me answer on the question. So you're referring to the SXR platform. So basically, it's a bit like a different things. So what we are talking here, it is like the Bixby Vision SDK and like the vision and rendering solution that are being tightly integrated with a Samsung camera. So if you want to bring your applications to the Bixby Vision camera, so this is the instrument that you have to use. So while the SXR is more focused on the wearables and the AR glass experience.
So this basically unifies the vision capabilities and AR rendering capabilities. So if you have a value proposition which revolves around visual objects, and you have a business model to service certain categories of those visual objects, in order to serve those categories, if you also want to cater to the requirements of bringing in 3D models from outside, then this is a perfect SDK for you to get started. You can also send your questions to sdk.vision@samsung.com at any point of time. We still have 7 more minutes for the Q&A, so feel free to ask any more questions you have. Yeah.
So what are the functionalities of the Vision SDK? Only the ones that are part of Bixby Vision now?
Yes. So we are expanding as we talk about the vision capabilities. These are basically AI models which detects and tracks the objects in real time, and many more things. But partners are not limited to only vision capabilities inside SDK. As I said earlier, you can build applications and register for preview callbacks so that you can get hold of the frames. You can build your own vision functionality on top of the vision function which is already being provided by Bixby Vision. Yeah.
So you just hinted at it a little bit, the AI models and machine learning models for detecting objects. It sounds like the way it's structured, there's things that live on the Bixby Vision side that are sort of closed off and are provided to you as this is an object or something.
Yes.
And then on our side, if we had some special machine learning model, we could integrate that, but it's manual process. We take the image frames, do the machine learning detection, and then do something with it. Is there any sort of integration / maybe like detecting where in the frame certain objects are based on the Bixby Vision outputs, or vice versa / some samples as far as how to best utilize machine learning models?
That's a very good question. So if I interpret the question correctly, you're basically saying that while we have optimized our own vision functions inside Bixby Vision, what if you also, as partner application, have additional requirements on machine vision? You have your own models which you want to accelerate on our platforms. What tools do we provide to accelerate that? That's a good question, and it's right now not integrated, but those tools are going to be made available in the form of SDK at some point in time. We are already using those tools. It's pretty robust state. There is already a plan in place to open up that in the form of SDK. Whether it's going to be part of the service platform or not, that's a decision still pending. Yep. Any more questions? Okay, so if there are no more questions, that brings to the end of our presentations. Please do not forget to rate the presentation before you leave on your applications. Thank you so much for your time, and
you.
have a good evening.